Hello, everybody. Welcome to another week. This week, we are going to be talking about prejudices and how to reduce them. Prejudices and how to reduce them. You know, I'm going to tell you something now that might probably shock you. Some of you will not agree with it. But you know what? It is true. Or it is reality. It is a reality that we all live in. Well, we live in a prejudiced world. And that is not the news. But the news is the fact that that prejudice affects you one way or the other. And most often, people will agree with that yes, I'm being prejudiced about, and people have prejudices against me. But the real big thing is you too are prejudiced. Most of us, almost everybody, have one prejudice or the other. We are prejudiced by nature. Because of the environment we grew up in, because of the people who raised us up, because of the countries or the nations that we were brought up in, because of the things we were hearing as we were growing up. There are viral reasons and numerous reasons that might be responsible for having prejudices or being prejudicial. But the thing is, prejudices must be overcome, and we must all learn how not just to overcome prejudices on the governmental or organizational or structural level, like judicially. In America and in most of the countries of the West, people overcome prejudice thanks to legislation. So people know that if you are going to call somebody by some group of people by some certain names, you are going to be punished for it. If you are going to relate to some people some way that's judicial, you are going to be punished for it. So judicially, some people have been able to avoid prejudices, but not in their heart. But real change in individuals and in societies actually happens when individuals take upon themselves the responsibility of changing themselves. So I want to challenge you this week to look critically into yourself and into your belief systems and see and try to find at least 5 prejudices that you have towards maybe different groups of people, maybe from within your country, outside your country, to people of different races, to people of different sexes, and all that. You will discover that it's prejudice. It's something that you too might need to fight in your life. God bless. Hello. Welcome to another day of talking about prejudices and how to overcome them. You say, you will not believe this. And it's a rough and crude realization that you too could be prejudiced, or that everybody, one way or the other, is prejudiced. And not just prejudiced against, but that everybody has some form of prejudices or the other. The common prejudices that we could talk about is the racial prejudices. Some people think that if you're a black person, that you have some complexes. Or some other people have prejudices against white people. I never even knew people could be prejudiced against white people, because from the part of Africa that I come from, people tend to rather respect white people. But then, talking to some other people from other part of Africa, I discovered that people also have prejudices against white people. Well, but the biggest realization was when I realized that I had some prejudices of my own. I remember when I used to grow up in Nigeria. I'm originally from Nigeria, and in Nigeria, it's a very complex country, but blessed. a country with different nationalities, different nations, over 250 languages and nationalities. And so it's really a lot, because people have interacted with one another. And so over the years, from the western part of Nigeria, where I come from, people used to look at the people from the northern part of Nigeria and call them some like laborers. If you are going to interpret it into English, they are just laborers. So I grew up looking at these people, thinking each time we see northerners, maybe they are Fulani or Hausa, we just call them laborers. So it never even occurred to me that there could be educated, sophisticated northerners, because most of the time the only northerners we knew were people who were working as guards in the homes, or they were working as laborers or well diggers, or just people who needed to survive, who immigrants, you could say, who migrated from the north to the south for survival. So, but our parents and grandparents never explained that aspect to you. They never explained to you that these are just laborers, and we have laborers from the southern and western part too, in all parts of the nation. And so growing up, when I entered into the university and I came overseas and I began to see other Nigerians, and especially from that particular part of the country, and I realized that they're just like me. Nothing is different nothing differentiates them from any other Nigerian that I've known. I had to critically look into myself and change my belief system. Same thing with you. Would you like to admit the fact that you too might be carrying some prejudices or the other? Discover them and work on changing them. God bless. Well, we're talking about prejudices this week, and the fact that I want to face, or I want us to face and realize, is the fact that we all have prejudices against other people. And when you begin to realize that, first of all, it's not easy to realize the fact that you could be prejudiced. I mean, nobody wants to believe that, because I'm so good, I'm such a good person. How could I be having prejudices against other people? But that's reality. That's reality. We could all be prejudiced or having prejudices against other people. So, but the way to discover that is to practice what we call critical thinking. You've got to think critically about yourself also, not just about other people. In most of the cases, we like to criticize other people, but whereas we don't criticize ourselves. But in the real sense, when you begin to deal with your character, when you begin to analyze and criticize yourself and work on your weaknesses, you will not even have time to begin to look into the weaknesses of the others or try to correct them. So, but one thing that happens to you when you begin to realize the fact that you too are or could be prejudiced or be prejudicing towards other people is the fact that you could have some kind of, what Satan would like to do is to throw you into some guilt or guilty consciousness, or to begin to blame other people for making you become prejudiced. But you have to avoid that. The fact that you became prejudiced doesn't mean that you have to blame for it, because that is what was put into you when you were not independent enough to criticize yourself or to critically assess the information that was being put into you. So you don't need to have that guilty conscience. You just need to correct it. Then on the other hand, we don't have the right to blame other people or the society we grew up in or the countries we come from, or even blaming other people and saying, well, they are responsible for my prejudices. Some people could say, well, I don't like the Jews because the Jews behave that way. It's because of the way they behave. I mean, you look at the way they behave. They provoke me to disliking them. So they are to blame. No. We don't need to throw blames, and we don't need to carry guilt on ourselves. Just need to be neutral. And to just know, I don't want to be negative towards other people. I don't want to be prejudiced towards other people. Any prejudicial belief or thoughts that might have been in your life, just need to deny it and be able to refuse it and accept the fact that you want to live free of blaming or condemning other people. God bless. Hello, everybody. One of the ways that we could actually change prejudices and prejudicial attitude in ourselves towards other people is to watch the way we talk, the way we speak about other people or other sexes, and the way we express ourselves in regards to people that we don't understand. And it's important that we don't judge what we don't totally understand. So watch your speeches, watch your talk, and follow yourself in how you speak, what you speak, how you describe other people. For example, another example that comes to mind is recently we had some Nigerians here in my home, but they were coming. They come from the part of Nigeria that we call North, and in Nigeria. So that is above the Niger River. But these people, and one of the prejudices that people have in Nigeria is to think that, especially in the southern part of Nigeria, especially where I come from in the west, is that anybody from the north is an Hausa person, or Hausa or Fulani person. If they are from the northern part of the Niger, is Hausa or Fulani. But that's not true. So this person was from what they call the thief nationality, or from another. Let's just say he's from another state they called Benue State in Nigeria. Now, Benue State people don't speak Hausa, even though they're from the north, and they don't like to be referred to as Hausas or Northerners as such. So they were in my house, and my wife and I were discussing, and my wife was just making a statement saying, "Oh, you are from the north, so you must speak Hausa." And this person said, "No, I don't understand Hausa. I don't speak Hausa." "Why? You mean you don't speak Hausa? Are you not an Hausa person?" "No, I'm not. I'm from Benue State." So that is a misconception that we've had just by growing up in the environment we grew up in. And, it's easy to realize your mistake if you just criticize yourself or study the history. So when you express yourself, maybe if you are not sure, it's better to ask or to find out the information, to confirm the information before you begin to express it. So when you say somebody is a northerner, or somebody is an Hausa or Yoruba or Igbo, why don't you find out first? God bless. There is no news that we have all suffered from prejudicial attitude or prejudices from other people. Especially myself, I know what it means to be prejudiced against. Being an African myself, and not just being an African, but being a Nigerian, and who has come to Europe since he was 19, and living in Europe for about 30 years now. There is no way you will not meet with prejudicial attitudes or prejudices against the fact that you are black in the first place. So there used to be instances when I was a student here in Russia when people would come to me and say, actually kids would come and try to rub off the blackness of my skin because they were prejudiced. They thought you are just dirty. Some people say, do you have cars in Africa? Because they've heard of all the poverty in Africa. Everybody is dying of hunger in Africa. But Africa is a big place, and not necessarily everybody is dying of hunger. Especially it was in the 80s, when you just come here in the 80s after the Ethiopia famine. Everybody is an African who is black, is an African dying of hunger. So those kind of prejudices could be confronted. Not confronted by the person being prejudiced against, but we all conceive those kind of prejudices just because of lack of enough accurate information. So that is one other way we could fight prejudices, by making sure we have the right data, we have the right statistics and the right information before we presume that something is so, or a group of people is what we call them to be. Or for example, the same thing, people who are Arabs. I've met, they constantly meet with that kind of prejudices. For example, I've been someone like that who have called Palestinians Arabs, or I've called Palestinians Muslims. But in the real sense, not all Palestinians are Muslims, and not all Palestinians are Arabs. And by the way, not all Palestinians are fighting against Israel, and not all Palestinians hate Israel. You see, just because of the overwhelming news or information we're exposed to, we tend to be prejudiced. So that's why we should just look into ourselves and strive to have more concrete, objective information, especially when we want to talk about other people or we want to address them. So let's work on ourselves. God bless. Hello, everybody. We continue to speak about prejudices this week. And I said that you should examine yourself and you will discover that you have your own prejudices against people. For example, the fact that I yesterday spoke about being an African and the prejudices some people have against Africans. But you know, what will interest you is that being a Nigerian, there are some Africans who have their prejudices against Nigerians. Not just Africans, but it could be even with anybody. If you are from Nigeria, well, you are not just an African now, but you are even worse because of some overwhelming information people have heard about Nigerians, or because of some wrong things, which could be wrong, that some Nigerians have been involved with. But then, that does not mean all Nigerians are the same. And that does not mean all Nigerians carry the same segment or the same stigma or stigmatization. Well, you know what could help you? The other thing that could help you to destroy that prejudice or the stigma that you might be having against other people. Being in Nigeria myself, I cannot have a stigma against myself, but you will discover that I might be having prejudices about some people too. Everybody have their own prejudices about, some people have their own attitude towards the Jews. Some people love them, some people hate them. Some other people have their own prejudices about Americans. Some people love them, some people hate them. Some people have their own prejudices and stigma about French people, about Germans. Some people like them, some people hate them. But before you, when you begin to think, before you think something prejudicial about another person or another group of people, one thing that could help you is that if I think all Jews are like this, greedy, like people say, well, maybe those same Jews have their own preconceived thoughts and ideas about me and my own race and my own group of people as well. Maybe I should criticize myself and ask myself, what do they think about Nigerians? So if I'm thinking that Americans are proud or pompous, okay, then let's think if I should even accept that. The one thing that could help me to correct and stop myself is to say, okay, what about if I ask Americans what they think about Nigerians? Same thing. So if you want to be prejudiced against Nigerians, well, you ask Nigerians what they think about your people group. So people have prejudices about each other because you are thinking about other people, but you never thought about it, that some people might be thinking about you too in the negative light. So if you don't want people to think about you negatively, it's better for you to consider that, okay, if I'm going to think about these people negatively, what are they thinking about me? Nobody wants to be thought about negatively. So you stop thinking about other people negatively if you don't want them to think about you prejudicially. God bless. Hello, everybody. We're talking about prejudices and how to overcome them this week. And you know what? People have prejudices against children, against girls, or against women, especially. So for example, when I was growing up in Africa, I used to watch a lot of Hollywood movies. And what you normally observe in those movies and reading some of those novels, is that the attitude is that women are supposed to be dominated or possessed or, conquered. So growing up as a young man, watching all these movies, I thought Because it's an idea of being a marshal, I thought your manness is defined by how much you are able to conquer, how many ladies you are able to win over to yourself. Well, that's a prejudice right there. Every lady wants to be special. Every lady wants to be unique. And every one of them wants to be treated as such. So if you have that kind of attitude that has been imported or planted in you through movies and films, well, it's one of the things we need to change. And one of the ways that you could actually fight prejudices in your life is by listening to the people you don't understand, or to the people you might have had some negative thoughts about. So just practice listening. If you don't understand Nigerians, just listen to them more. Listen to the good ones. Listen to the ones, even the ones you think they are bad ones. And you will understand why they are the way they are. If you don't understand Christians, in some countries, people say, oh, evangelicals, Christians, you are fanatics. Maybe you need to listen to them more. If you don't understand pro-life, or even if you don't understand people, what they call pro-choice people, maybe you just need to listen to them more. When I first began to go to America, being somebody that was exposed to reading a lot of evangelical materials, I could not understand why any Christian could become or could be a Democrat, because I didn't listen to the perspectives of Democrats a lot. But later on, when I began to relate to other people and who are Democrats, then I realized that if the Democrats will only listen to the Republicans, and if the Republicans will only listen to the Democrats, wow, it's so easy to understand each other. But prejudices is what divide us. Prejudices is what divide society. Prejudice divide people, and it ruins relationship. But we are supposed to build bridges, not blow up bridges. So fight your own prejudices. God bless.